What's going on, everybody? Damon here, and welcome back to the channel. Another milestone hit, 4,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot. Now, I know I said that what if future Trunks could change the past to be the 4K special, but I've decided to push that back, and make that the 5K special, if we ever hit that. So if you guys want to see that fast, make sure to subscribe, and if you already are, share with your friends so we can get that part out faster. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering how I'm going to incorporate myself into Dragon Ball. Well, I had a couple of ideas. One where I just have a random teen show up and want to train and help out the Z Fighters, but I scrapped that pretty fast, since then I would just be reduced to fodder pretty fast, and probably killed by Nappa or something. So to make things more interesting, I decided that this Damon is going to literally be me, with all of my memories of Dragon Ball and the real world. Just say I was sitting in my room editing a video, and Fu or somebody shows up, smacks me, and I get teleported to Dragon Ball, like a day before Bulma leaves to go search for the Dragon Balls. Now, I would obviously be tweaking out, since what the hell just happened and where the hell am I? But then Fu would come to me and tell me he knows I know quite a bit about Dragon Ball, so he's curious to see how I will do in this world myself, and how I might be able to change things. And he'll take me out of the world and revert me completely back to normal after he's satisfied. I mean, I would still be sitting there having a panic attack and furiously shaking my head, so he'd take that as a good implication that I understand, and he'd make his leave. Now, what would I do first? Well, I mean, after I get a clean pair of pants, I would most likely go off and try to find Capsule Corp, as that's the only location I know of where I'd be able to get help. I'd most likely make it there with no issues, but the only problem is that they won't exactly let me in since I didn't get any appointments or anything. But that's not going to stop me, as I asked the intercom lady for Bulma, and to let her know that I know about the Dragon Balls and I could help her out on her quest. I'm pretty sure Bulma would be interested in somebody else knowing about the Dragon Balls, so she'd come out and ask how I know about them. I'm pretty sure I would just be fanboying seeing Bulma in real life, but I wouldn't try to flirt or anything, as come on, I'm a faithful boyfriend, even though my girlfriend is in another dimension currently. After I recover from fanboying, I would tell Bulma that I just read a lot about them from these books I used to read all the time. I also tell her that they were created by the god of Earth himself, and that Shenron can grant almost any wish, but there are certain limitations, and other stuff that Bulma wouldn't know a lot about herself. She'd most likely be impressed, and I'd ask her if I could join her on her quest, and I'm pretty sure she'd allow me to, as long as I don't try anything. We'd make it to Mount Paozu after a few days, and I know what's coming, so I'd tell her to keep an eye on the road in front of her, and we'd miss hitting Goku. Before Goku can attack us, however, I'd step out of the car and explain to him that we're not monsters or anything, and we're just people going on a hunt. Goku would cease his attack, and I of course would be shaking in happiness cause, you know, I'm a huge nerd, and seeing one of my heroes in real life would be amazing. After showing off that Bulma is a girl, we'd head back to his house and find the 4-star Dragon Ball, and Bulma would explain everything to him as normal. After we convince Goku to let us take the ball, Bulma tells us to head out, and this time we're able to take the car since Goku never destroyed it. We'd have a pretty nice road trip, where I'm just asking Goku a bunch of questions about his childhood, and how much he really remembers. He'd just explain everything about Grandpa Gohan, and how he doesn't exactly remember much before that. I would also ask him if he remembers anybody with the names Bardock or Gine, just to see if that triggers any memories, but I'm sure he wouldn't know what those names mean, and get nothing from it. We'd make rest for the night, and Bulma and Goku's interactions would go pretty much as normal, and we'd all end up at Master Roshi's. With Bulma willing to head over earlier, as I'd most likely be able to convince her to help out the turtle. As reward, Roshi would offer the Flying Nimbus, and while I'd love to ride it, I know I'm not pure of heart, so I wouldn't be able to. Goku would be able to, of course, and Bulma would still, of course, flash him for the Dragon Ball, as, sorry, I'm not changing that from happening. Also, as much as I'd like to continue traveling with my hero, I would want to stick back with Roshi for now, and start up training with him early. Roshi wouldn't exactly accept my wanting to stay and train, but I would be able to convince him due to my knowledge of his life. How I'd like to participate in the next Tenkaichi Budokai, and be able to learn him a Fuba, and steal away King Piccolo in case he is ever released again. Of course, this isn't the only reason I'd want to train, but this is what Roshi would want to hear, and he'd ask me how on earth I know about Piccolo and the Mafuba. I'd just tell him I read about them in stories, and of the great Mutaito, and I'd like to preserve his memory by training under his student. And if all that doesn't work, I can just buy him like a porno mag or something. With this, I believe Roshi would accept me as a Turtle School student, and I would apologize to Bulma and Goku for leaving them so fast, but I'd tell them we'll totally see each other again soon, and I'd probably just warn them to look out for Oolong and Monster Carrot and stuff. The two would depart and I'd begin my training with Roshi. Now, I am not very strong in the slightest. Sure, I'm pretty good at Kempo and kinda skilled, but not comparable with the Dragon Ball guys. So I'm pretty sure the first day of training would be a living hell for me personally. But since I want to be strong with the big boys, I would power through and keep up my training. Now, my current power level is probably around a 4.5 or something, so I've still got a long way to go. That's why I decided to head to Roshi's early to train. After a few days, I would get a little stronger, but I would be extremely exhausted. Goku and Chi-Chi would show up and ask about the Bancho fan, and after introducing myself to Chi-Chi, I'd just tell that Roshi threw away the fan, and he can just go and put out the fire himself with the famous Kamehameha wave. Now Roshi would be suspicious as he hasn't told me about that move, and he's very curious to why I know so much, but he wouldn't question it, would accept going out to put out the fire. Except Roshi would tell me to stay behind and continue my daily training, so unfortunately I would miss out on seeing the famous first Kamehameha. But hey, hopefully with more training, I can do it myself someday. Once Roshi returns, training would resume as normal. Until a few weeks later, once Goku and Krillin arrived to train as well. Now Roshi has 3 students to take care of, and while I'd already be more skilled with the turtle style than Goku and Krillin, I would be nowhere near them in power, so I'd probably get mocked by Krillin for being a weakling. But I don't care, I'm being talked to by the famous Krillin. I know he'll be a lot nicer in the future, so whatever. So over the next 8 months, I would train with Goku and Krillin, and since my body is now accustomed to Dragon Ball's physics, I would be able to move the giant boulder and be able to jump up super high. I would be insanely happy with myself, as in the real world, I would basically be unstoppable. I would also become great friends with Goku and Krillin, and we'd be a great trio, which is just so great for my nerdy side. With my new strength, I'm ready to participate in the World Tournament, where I'm very excited to see how well I stack up. Now of course I got a head start over Goku and Krillin, but I believe the two would still be stronger than me, by just a bit though. We'd all enter the tournament, where I get a Turtle Student Gi, and my god, at this point I'd be surprised if I didn't die from nerdgasm right there. I'd meet up with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Yamcha, and he is also probably stronger than I am, but with my new Turtle School skill, I can probably beat him up in a fight. Meeting Oolong would be pretty cool too, and this makes me remember about his ability to shapeshift, which might actually be useful and something cool to learn, and imagine the possibilities. So, after the tournament, you know what, I'm going to head off and learn about shapeshifting. I'd ask Oolong if he could take me to his old school, and he'd probably tell me no way, as he doesn't want to head back there, but I'm pretty sure Puar would be happy enough to take me. I'm pretty sure I would pass the preliminaries, and would most likely replace Ranfan if I went up against her. So for matches, they would all play out as normal, except for me taking Ranfan's spot. That means I'd face Nam in the first round, and this is pretty much my first big fight. I'd have sparred with Goku and Krillin on occasion, and I've been in real life fights before, but never a 1v1 against a Dragon Ball character, even though he's a relatively weak one compared to like Goku or something. Our battle would be close, with him dealing heavy blows and me being more light on my feet and defensive. And I think this would push him to do his Divine Cross move, but I know this all too well, and would just sidestep out of the way and then knock him out of bounds, with me being the winner. Of course, once I knock Nam out, I already know that I'm screwed since my next opponent is going to be Goku, but whatever, at least I managed to get a win, which is something you can't say for everybody. Once it's up for me to fight Goku, I would try my hardest, and it would probably be a hefty fight for me since Goku and I were trained the same, and we'd have similar moves. But overall, Goku has the power advantage and I'd be knocked out. I expected this anyway, and it's just so cool to fight with Goku, so I don't think I'd be salty at all. The rest of the tournament would play out the same, and Goku's about to leave and go find a 4-star Dragon Ball, and I would take him aside and talk to him. I know of course how Goku killing Jiro's son will affect things. I know that this event is necessary to power up everybody enough so that we don't get killed by Majin Buu. But still, Jiro's son doesn't deserve to go out like that. Since from watching TFS, he seemed like such a nice guy, and I'd tell Goku that maybe sparing your enemies is the best option. As they can just train themselves up, it can be a better challenge next time. Especially soldiers who are just following orders. Goku would probably be very confused as to why I'm saying all this, but would most likely take my words to heart and decides he won't kill anybody. He then flies off to go searching for the Dragon Balls, and I know I'll just get in the way, so I head off with Yamcha and Puar to go find the Shapeshifting School. Now, we basically know nothing about this place from the manga and anime, but we know that anybody can learn this, and at max you can stay transformed for 5 minutes. Also, Oolong didn't train here all his life, as he's younger than 16 and didn't stay for very long, but is pretty skilled at shapeshifting, so I don't think it would take me very long to get the basics down. While Goku is off fighting the Red Ribbon Army, he spares most of his enemies, and the only person that he really kills is Tao Pai Pai, since that was just a freak accident and he pretty much killed himself. The Red Ribbon HQ is invaded with no bloodshed, and the only people to die are Commander Red and then Officer Black, since Black kills Red, and Goku had no choice but to kill Black since he was killed in the explosion with his mech. But besides them, Goku just knocked out all the soldiers, and Jiro and his son live on. Jiro is still going to hold a grudge against Goku for wrecking the army, but not an obsession on revenge, as his son is still alive. Unfortunately, me telling Goku not to kill has had a sort of terrible butterfly effect, since the only ones to die in the Red Ribbon Army were the leaders, and they would just elect new leaders, and I believe that leader would be Jiro. Jiro has been a big help in the army with his android creations, so with him in charge, they could create more androids to supply the army with to ensure that this threat like Goku won't happen again. So yeah, now androids are being created way earlier, so good job, Damon. The Baba tournament would happen as normal since I'm off busy learning how to shapeshift, and Goku would go off to explore the world to get stronger. Now, back with me, after around a year, I believed that I would master shapeshifting and be able to turn into anything that I think of, which means if I really wanted to, I could fly. Which is one of the main reasons I took the class. With my new ability to transform into anything, I make my way to Korin's tower, introduce myself to Bora and Upa, and tell them I'm a friend of Goku's, and I'm going to need a favor on getting up the tower. The two would totally help me out since I'm friends with Goku, and I'm even wearing an outfit similar to his. So, Bora grabs me, and similar to what he did with Yajirobe, he throws me up super high in the air, and once I feel myself starting to fall back down, I would transform myself into a rocket and fly the rest of the way up to Korin. Korin would most likely be impressed on how I managed to get up there without actually having to climb the tower, but I just tell him that I'm not here to train with him exactly. I'm going to need him to help me out with getting Goku stronger too. Korin doesn't quite get it, but to get him to listen, I explained that I had a terrible premonition of the future, that the great Demon King Piccolo was going to be released, so I need to go up to Kami and train with him to prepare. I tell him I know all about Kami and how he is the good half of a Namekian that used to be a full being. Korin is blown away by how much I know, so he would grant me access to go meet Kami, but there's a problem. I most likely won't be able to make my way up there without the power pole. But I tell Korin that won't be a problem, as I can just try to fly my way up there, but I'm going to need quite a few Senzu beans while I'm at it, just in case I run out of energy. Now Korin wonders how I know about Senzu, but I just tell him that I read a lot of books, and I transform again and attempt to make my way to Kami's lookout. Now of course, even as a super fast rocket, I wouldn't be able to make it up to Kami's in just 5 minutes, so once I turn back to normal and begin to fall, I eat a Senzu bean and return to full stamina, and regain the ability to transform again. So I do this a few times before I make my way up to Kami. Now meeting the God of Earth is a huge privilege, so I would give my respects. And Kami is very curious on how I know so much about him and Piccolo. I try to tell Kami that I know because I've read some books, but he can tell I'm lying and tells me to tell him the truth. So I try my best and just tell him that I was sent here from another world, and I have a basic understanding of the fate of everybody on the planet. Kami senses that I'm telling the truth, and even though it is hard to believe, he has no choice but to believe it. I tell him that we also need Goku up here, as he is currently the strongest on this planet, and he is the best chance we have against King Piccolo. Kami understands this, and just like in the Super manga, he moves to lookout so we can go find Goku's location, and I'm tasked to go down and collect him. Now, I'm sure a bunch of you are wondering why I'm doing all this. Like, why bother having Goku train with Kami early? Well, I want Goku to get as strong as possible before the fight with Raditz, as I know that even with me in the picture, we wouldn't fare well against him. So if I manage to power Goku up and be able to have him be stronger than Raditz, we could probably spare him and have him be an ally in the future. So that's why I'm going through all this trouble, to make sure Earth has enough defenders, that way we'll always be somewhat safe. Once I go down and collect Goku and repeat the difficult process of getting up there, Goku meets Kami and the two of us begin our training under him. And that's where we're going to leave things for right now. I originally had a lot more planned for this episode, but due to time constraints and the fact that I was just exhausted editing this, we're going to leave this off right here, and continue the rest in part 2. Now don't you guys worry though, cause part 2 will be the next video coming up on this channel. I won't have you guys wait like a month or something, like the other what ifs. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hope to see you guys again in the next one. So, until we meet again guys, see you later.